Hi guys, we're back. Figured I'd do a part 2 update to the video. We're going to be testing it again, and I had a lot of people tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. It's all just word salad. I don't think so. What we discovered was an old equation hidden in multiple old electrical engineering books, especially Charles Steinmetz's, called Impulses, Waves, Discharges, and Electricity. And Eric Dollards even put it in his book, Four-Quadrant Representation of Electricity. What's buried in the math for ancient electrical engineering are the equations for energy synthesis. So buried in those books are all the different equations for energy synthesis. It basically allows you to turn reactive power into real power by phase shifting the reactive power by 90 degrees with the correct capacitor value. That would be the solid state version on how to do it. There's a rotating mechanical version on how to convert reactive power into real power, but we're not focusing on that method. It's too complicated. This will also be in my community post page. This is a exact schematic of the transmitter circuit, so feel free to pause the video on that. It's a dead simple transmitter circuit. The L1 and L2 coils are completely identical to each other, wound opposite to each other. It works off of sympathetic resonance. Both coils have to be exactly the same size, so feel free to pause it on that. Now I'll move the schematic. So again, the system works. It works like the ancient math says. There's nothing magic or crazy about it, but it is very impressive. We're able to convert reactive power into real power. There's no point in me putting a schematic for the receiver coil. It's so dead simple. It's a 2-coil receiver coil system. The first inner coil builds up immense reactive power, and you can't tap that reactive power directly. You have to wind a second coil over the first one. They're both in the same direction, and the second coil acts as a power takeoff coil that taps into the immense reactive power the first coil built up. And the correct parallel capacitor value installed upon the sympathetic resonator coil, being the first coil, 90-degree phase shifts the energy that the yellow coil outputs. And there's just a UF 4007 diode installed as a full bridge rectifier on the outer coil. So again, to sum it up, I'm not sure how people say this is word salad or doesn't make sense. Electrical engineering is algebraic, dead simple, and you use a lot of math in electrical engineering. There's nothing word salad about that. The equations are even in old books hidden that I just showed you. The old equations tell you how to convert reactive power into real power. I'll say that again. The old equations that were buried tell you how to convert reactive power into real power. The way to do it is by using a 2-coil resonator system. The first part of the coil builds up immense reactive power, and you can't tap that power directly. You tap it by winding a second coil over your reactive resonator, and you tap it that way. And with the correct 90-degree phase shifting capacitor installed in parallel upon your resonator coil, you've succeeded. And again, the math says all that. So I'm going to power the system up again to test. Here's a good look at the transmitter. It is a dead simple transmitter. The inner and outer coils are high quality, high Q. They build up immense reactive power. If there's any extra heat building up in the system after it's finally tuned, it's from the immense reactive power of the system. Give you a good look at it. It's dead simple. You don't even need the Baker clamp diode here, which is a UF 4007. I installed it just because it improves efficiency a little bit. And again, I'm not sure what people have such a hard time with. The math is there. It's simple. Disagreeing with the math would be to disagree with Charles Proteus Steinmetz, which would be all electrical engineers would laugh in your face if you disagreed with Steinmetz. And anyway, I don't know what people are so confused about. The math is simple. We found a way, buried in the math, to convert reactive power into real power. The equations are there. It's just hidden in versor algebra. So I'll hook the system up. We'll watch what it can do. The key to tuning it is the two ferrite rods. I'll hook it up and show you what it can do. And these are little Avramenko LED receiver light detectors, the most sensitive detectors of wireless power. As you see, nothing is on because we don't have it turned on. So look at our battery. I'll turn the system on. The bottom of the coil here, I don't want to make a mistake on video, so I'm saying it carefully. The outer bottom part of the L2 coil is your positive connection, and I already showed you a schematic earlier in the video that you could pause on. The emitter of your transistor is your negative connection. Give you another good look at the transmitter. You can pause it on that. It's really dead simple air core transmitter. It is a scaled down 416 times mathematically perfect representation of Nikola Tesla's transmitter. So now I'll hook it up and we'll see it immediately start to consume power. The key to get it working is the capacitor value installed here. If it's too big, it'll consume too much power. Too small, the system won't oscillate. Just perfect, it can create near magic-like properties. So we're now on. There we go, we're consuming power. Consuming half an amp. And to tune it, you can insert a ferrite rod in the center. As you see, when I insert the ferrite rod, we consume a lot less power. The ferrite rods are essential to tuning the device, and we still have near magic-like effects from the device, from tuning. And to show you this coil builds up immense amounts of reactive power, I'm just sitting this thing close to it and look. See how far we can move it. So I'm showing you the system builds immense amounts of reactive power. Oh, and I didn't add my earth ground connection. Oops. You always earth ground the bottom of the inner L2 coil. The moment I do this, the wireless power effects become near magical. So now that I grounded it, we'll have even better wireless power effects, as you can see. Look at that. The wireless power effects have become crazy just from me earth grounding that part of the coil. I'll remove it. Earth ground removed. The wireless power effects are greatly reduced. It's not even glowing in the area around the system. I will reconnect the earth connection. The wireless power effects become near magic-like. And again, if people think this is all word salad or have a problem with it, it's basic mathematics. What do you expect me to say? Durr, we built a self-sustaining energy device. It works. That's it. Now anyway, I will hook up a load. Hope I don't get the polarity wrong. I'm going to do a voltage check. Again, the receiver coil sits fully encompassed over the transmitter. And we can run a load. This is a 4 watt, 12 volt light bulb. It lights it no problem. And the negative resistance effect you were seeing is when we run a load from the power takeoff coil, our power consumption drops. That is the negative resistance effect. The system is pulling dielectric energy out of the earth ground wire connection. That was the crazy discovery, and it's listed in all the old books for radio engineering and Tesla engineering. Just having that earth connection allows some form of wireless power field that exists over the conductors to flow from the earth into the system, creating the near magic-like wireless power effects. Now, like I said, you haven't seen nothing yet. The correct ferrite rods can tune the system. I will add that. As you see, when I insert the ferrite rod in the center of the whole arrangement, we will consume less power and get a brighter bulb. And I think I also had this sitting next to it. Oop, now I shut it off. I overtuned it. If you ever shut it off and overtune it, you have to jump start the system by placing a load between the base and collector of the transistor very quickly. And it should kick back on. There we go. Now, I want to do a quick voltage reading because I'm going to backfeed the power back into the battery. I don't want to hook it up backwards and blow my bridge rectifier that's installed on the power takeoff coil. So it does look like our polarity is correct, which is good. I will add the multimeter hooked up to the battery, our driving battery, so we can see exactly what's going on. So our driving battery is at 13.33 volts DC. And I believe I used a smaller ferrite rod to also tune it. Oop, I shut it off. I think when I tuned it in yesterday's video, I used this rod and the thin rod. Maybe, I can't remember. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to backfeed the power from this tap back into the battery, and we're going to see what happens. And you can also hear the system ringing and resonating. It's so efficient. I'm not sure if you can hear that. The ferrite rods are flexing and vibrating at a very fast rate. I'm not even sure if that captures on camera, but the ferrite rods are ringing. Now I will hook up I'll backfeed the power back into the device. So and what you can do is you can run loads for a time. I showed this in yesterday's video. So we'll run that for a minute, disconnect, and do the test again. And again, when this is occurring, there's no degradation on the wireless power effects due to the earth grounding effect that you witnessed. Even weird things occur. This is just normal battery. A wireless charge will somehow accumulate in metal objects near the transmitter. Disconnect the load now. As you see, it's gonna go back up. I've never had my charge drop below 13.30 volts DC when it's being backfed into the system. So, that's an explanation of things. The setup's pretty clean. And it's caused from converting reactive power into real power. I'll run the load again. Not sure how much more simple it can get, what more of an explanation people want. The entire video description goes into full detail how to build the system. It's very simple. I've told you how to tune it. There's a 5.65 nanofarad capacitor value in parallel on the outer part of the receiver coil. I'm sorry, that's a 5.65 nanofarad capacitor on the inner part of the receiver coil. The outer part of the receiver coil gets no capacitor and directly powers loads. That capacitor is responsible for 90-degree phase shifting the reactive power into usable power that you're seeing doing work. So that's the electrical engineering perspective of it. If you think that's word salad, that's not my problem. And then we'll disconnect the load. We'll see what happens. Immediately goes back. And I can hear faint ringing. And we can tune the system by adjusting our ferrites. In fact, I'm curious to try the thicker ferrite. See if we can get the battery voltage even higher. Looks like it seems to like that, actually. Because by tuning it this way, we're matching the impedance from this yellow outer coil to the battery, making it more efficient. And again, the receiver coil is essentially tapping into this massive wireless reactive power field that you're seeing that lights this little light. This is the clue, this is the key of what's going on. This little light being activated so efficiently in the area is what's causing that effect. It's almost like a near magic-like property. Look at that. So, doing that places no load on the system in any way. And I'm actually achieving better results today than I was yesterday with the system. We'll run the load again. I don't know how much more simple it can get. We found the math, the equations buried in old ancient electrical engineering books for energy synthesis. Here it is. Pause the video again on it. There's the equations. The way to convert reactive and environmental power into real power by phase shifting it 90 degrees from a 2 resonator system. And the schematic. Now I will disconnect the load. We'll watch what happens. And I think it will go up to 13.31 because we better tune the system with the ferrite. So we actually gained 0.1 of a charge, I think. I'd be impressed if it hits 3-1, and oh shit, it did. And when you get it perfectly tuned, your transistor's heatsink is stone cold. The wireless power effects in the area become multiplicative and near magic-like. So I'll hook the load back up. And again, to sum it up, what we're doing, driving battery passes through our current meter, measures the current. It's installed in series with the transmitter. The transmitter kicks up a extremely high field tension in the smallest space possible to create aether torque or aether tension, and we put the correct two-part receiver coil system over the transmitter. It's bigger. Being that space dilutes energy, you want your receiver coil system to be two-part and to be 3 or 4 times the size of the transmitter to focus that energy and output power. And you need the correct 90-degree phase shifting capacitor on the inner part of your two-part receiver coil. The inner part of the receiver coil is the sympathetic resonator to the transmitter that builds up immense reactive power. The outer part of the coil turns that reactive power into real power, because in resonant electrical engineering systems, your reactive power can be orders of magnitudes higher than your input power, which you're seeing that effect with the remarkably efficient wireless power field around the device. Once I earth grounded it, that was responsible for the effect. And the correct 90-degree phase shifting capacitor installed upon the inner part of the receiver coil allows the reactive power to properly do work that's coming from the outer coil. That reactive power that gets converted to real power was phase shifted by the capacitor value in parallel on the inner part of the receiver coil. Both these coils are 18 gauge. Inner coil is solid core magnet wire. Outer coil is stranded 18 gauge wire. Full description how to build it in the video description and in our book, Condensed Intro to Energy Synthesis. I'll disconnect the load now, and we'll probably charge back up to 3-1. We will see. Then I'm going to have to end the video soon. Made this as an update video, have to go to work. And this is kind of a response video to all the people who said there was too much word salad and I don't understand what you're saying. It's like, well, electrical engineering isn't word salad. It's mathematics, algebra, theory, and we put said theory into practice and document our results, which we're doing, and it's very promising. It's showing a lot of promise. So it's a dead simple system, performing very well. Already back up at 3-1. Want to load again? I'd even love to run a heavier load. I believe this is a 20 watt load. We'll even test that real quick on camera. See if the system can rebound back up after such a big load. And I shouldn't have twisted the leads for neatness. You think you're doing something convenient in a video and it ends up biting you in the ass. I'm going to try and light this bulb. Just don't want to short out the connections. Okay, there we go. So that's 20 watts now being lit. That is extremely bright. I don't want to burn my desk, which is actually smoking. Yeah, I don't want to burn that. So now I'll disconnect. What is still smoking? I'll run it for a minute and then I'll disconnect and see if we charge back up due to our resonant feedback. Yeah, I'm gonna have to disconnect that now. That smokes and stinks. Then I'm going to be ending the video soon. And that was a 20. I'm going to zoom in on it. There's a 20 watt. Won't focus on it, but it's a 20 watt load. And the system's rapidly recharging itself back up. Because we impedance match the power from our power takeoff coil into the battery. Just simple electrical engineering, that's how we did it. Using our perfected energy synthesis equation that we obtained from 3 different books. There was 3 different equations buried in each book. First equation, second, third. And they're right there. So, hopefully this satisfies all the word salad people. And we're charging back up. I'm gonna have to end the video soon. And at the end of it all, I will disconnect everything again and disassemble everything. So the moment we hit 3.1, I will stop the test. If we hit 3.1. I think we will, because I have it slightly better tuned. And I have plans to make this thing even more efficient. Transmitter will be built with Litz wire on the next model. Use even faster switching diodes than the UF 4007. And I'll probably even use Litz wire on the inner part of the receiver coil. Outer part will still stay stranded wire. And if we hit 3.1, I'll be very impressed. And by running a heavy load, we created an energy debt that the system has to pay back by slowly recharging the source battery. So we'll see if it goes back up. And last night in all my testing, oh, it hit 3.1, shit, that's great. And last night in all my testing, I could never get it to pass 13.30, but it looks like we hit a new milestone from slight proper tuning of the ferrites installed. And in theory, using bismuth rods instead of ferrite should be even better for this type of power, because we'd be focusing more of the dielectric component of the energy instead of the magnetic using bismuth. So yeah, ferrite's working good. Plan to test bismuth rods. Now I'll disconnect the whole system and show it to everyone again. So I really want to get this on camera right when I disconnect everything. Wireless power effects immediately cease. Gonna disconnect everything in front of everyone so no one can complain. The tuning rods. Receiver coil. Almost done. Right there. That's how the transmitter looks. That's awesome, thank you. Battery. So that's going to conclude the video. Not a bad looking breakfast. Look around everything. At my parents' farmhouse, by the way. So, good look at the transmitter. Battery that ran it. Receiver coil, dead simple. You shouldn't need a schematic on that. I explained to you how to build it. It's simply 2 coils with a phase shifting capacitor on the inner coil being 5.65 nanofarad. Good look at it again. Real close-up look. And you saw what the system could do. And again, made possible from the mathematics we discovered in those old books. And the 3 energy synthesis equations spread out through those 3 books that we condensed all into one spot that tell you how to convert reactive power into real power. And again, a look at the schematic. Look under the desk. Just a simple room, nothing crazy. So, yeah, that's that. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, join the Patreon, and the system is showing a lot of promise. Hopefully I fully explained everything. It is a 416 times scale model reduction of Tesla's magnifying transmitter. Hopefully I explained all the principles properly, and yeah, have a good one, everyone.